Hey everybody, it's 547 week 8. Here's our final week. And as you might tell by the not great virtual background with my hair right here, there it is. That's a hint and a half that you need a haircut, isn't it? I was pretending to be Concordia University Irvine, but I'm not. I'm on Zoom using the virtual background to make it seem like I'm here, but I'm really not here. And my hair is going to continue to give it away. I should just do this occasionally, and you're going to be able to look at nothing else but like the weird mat around my head. Yeah. Anyway, not the point. Pretty straightforward week this week. Pretty straightforward video this week as well. You're finishing the Sousa text, chapter 8, putting it all together, which that's what we're doing. Thread discussion has different times. Remember, everything is due on Friday. My final grades are due Sunday, so make sure everything gets submitted Friday. So your initial post for the week 8 discussion board is due Wednesday. 2 responses due Friday. And it's a great question to ask your students, a great question to ask yourself after every course, after actually every meeting or kind of coaching session, what was most useful for you. If you like that idea of like, yeah, the reflection, there's a great book called The Coaching Habit. Let me Google it real quick. I'm blanking out on the author. Coaching Habit by Michael Stanier. Really good. I actually listened to the audiobook on Audible. Walked you through 8 questions for ways to coach. I think could be applicable for students. If you are moving to administrative position, strongly recommend this. If you're curious about that, maybe someday, like I'll be a tech director too. For sure, check it out. For people that report directly to me, I try and take more of a coaching stance with our weekly check-ins. So it's less about like I'm the boss, do what I say, because that is never the type of leader that I would want to work for. So I try not to be that type of leader. And it starts off. The first question is what's on your mind. Second question, what else? And goes on and on, with the final question being what's most useful for you. Right in our time together in the last half hour of our check-in hour, 5-minute student check-in, what was most useful for you, forcing that reflection. So that is what this discussion board question is. What was most useful for you? In this case, 2 things. What 2 things were most useful for you? Initial post by Wednesday, 2 responses by Friday. And then you have the brain compatible unit. Hopefully you've been keeping up with this week by week, and this week is going to be just putting it all together. Strongly encourage you to take a look at that Google Doc that gives you the description and do 2 things. Take a look at that rubric. Make sure that you are addressing every single bit in it because I use that rubric to grade you. And then also, please, please, please look at the student samples. At the bottom of that Google Doc, there are 2 samples. So if you're not quite sure what to do, take a look at that. 2 more things for you. Looking back at the arts and movement submissions that you have, with that in particular, and I would say every assignment moving forward, please, please, please make sure you are sharing not a post, you are uploading a file to Blackboard. Get in the habit of never sending just a link, always send a file. If it's like an embedded video, grab some screenshots, do a screen recording of that screenshot, do a little bit of digging ahead of time before you commit to a platform where you're like, oh, I have to pay if I want to download the video? What? That's ridiculous. Do everything you can to avoid sending a link. It's really important for accreditation for the School of Education to have files saved in Blackboard, and not just links. The other part where it gets a little bit tricky is if you send a link, particularly if it's something in Google Drive, that can be edited and changed after the fact, which makes grading and keeping track of items that can be edited after submission much trickier. Makes sense, right? That's one of the great things actually about Google Classroom is you can just submit it and then it kind of freezes whatever that is, Google Slides, Google Docs. It kind of freezes it until the teacher grades and releases it. Um, Blackboard does not do that. So if you're in Google Slides, recommend downloading it as a PDF to preserve that formatting. You can also do a PowerPoint PPTX. Um, if you have audio and video embedded, you can always add in the notes. Attached is the PDF. There's audio. Please click on this link to listen to it because it doesn't work as just a PDF. Although PDFs actually can support audio and video and links. They can link to other pages. You can do a lot with PDFs. I think we just moved on to like Google Docs, how like anything can link to anything. Anything in Google Drive can link to anything. It's kind of a magical thing, actually, if you stop and think about it. Yeah, so please make sure you're giving us a file moving forward. Everybody's good for now. I think everything is straightened out at this point, but please make sure you're doing that. And then the last thing, the Spring Q conference is coming up in mid-March. Our time together will be over. It's ending this Friday, but perhaps if you're there, we can wave from like a socially safe distance. We'll awkwardly wave at each other. And you're like, Bill, and I'll be like, hey. Yeah, it'll be fun if you're there. If you're not attending in person, be sure and check out, as my mom calls it, the YouTubes, the Twitters of Q. I'm going to be helping out with Q Live, interviewing some great people, including the two keynotes, Amanda Sandoval and Ken Shelton. I am very much looking forward to Ken's keynotes. He's one of my favorite presenters in education. I guess anywhere. Most of the presenters I know are education presenters. Yeah, he has a lot to say around technology and equity. He calls it techquity. He's been talking about this for a long time, and a lot of people have been like, just tell us about iMovie. And he's like, okay, we also need to talk about equity. Who's not included and why? And let's look at the systems of that, which is extraordinarily important. So I'm glad that he has the main stage. He'll be keynoting, I believe, Friday night, Friday afternoon, perhaps. So if you're not attending the conference, he will be interviewed on Q Live. I'm hoping to be able to do that interview myself. If not, I might give it to one of our other interviewers, one of our anchors. I don't know, what do we call them? Humans, awesome educators interviewing. Tutul might be interviewing them. He's a great human also. I know they'd have a great conversation. Anyway, very much looking forward to hearing Ken's keynote address. And if you happen to be in Palm Springs in a couple weeks, it'd be great to hang out, even if it's briefly. I'll also be presenting once around how we make schools, presentations, classrooms more accessible. So we'll be looking at ways, simple ways for audio accessibility, video accessibility, as well as digging actually into iOS and iPadOS 15 and looking at those built-in accessibility features. They're just, it's amazing what we're able to do with these devices that's just built in, that doesn't require additional software, additional hardware, to be more inclusive in our schools and in our communities. It's pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to that presentation. And that is all. If you have any questions, reach out. If not, looking forward to seeing those initial posts on the discussion board Wednesday and your final brain compatible unit signature assignment and the replies to the discussion board post on Friday night. Reach out with any questions. And if you are going to EdTech conferences from now for the rest of your life, if you are there and I am there, please be sure and reach out. It would be great to see you in real life. Get to spend a little bit of time together. And if you ever have any EdTech questions, please reach out. Last thing I will share is that this course does come with lifetime tech support. So if you're stuck on something, curious about something, need some help on a trend or a workflow or an idea for something, reach out. I am here. If you lose the email address, if you can spell my name, then you can find me on all the things. And that is all. Happy week 8, everybody. Looking forward to seeing those brain compatible units. And I will see you later.